What up? This is the Hard Knock Life background info. This is all about the colonies and how they were discovered. First up, Virginia, otherwise known as Money Bay. And this is all about Jamestown. Now, the French and the Spanish, yes, the French and the Spanish had been there in the New World for a long time. They didn't really care about the East Coast, though, so they left it open for the Brits, and that's why the Brits were able to settle on the East Coast. The first attempt to settle, some for the Brits, was off the coast of North Carolina, and this was by a man named Sir Walter Raleigh. So that's Sir Walter Raleigh off the coast of North Carolina. But everybody dies in this attempt to settle a colony. So where's the first real colony for the Brits? In 1607, the Brits land in the Chesapeake area of Virginia, and they settled Jamestown. So 1607, Jamestown. And if you want to know more about Jamestown, there you go. Now, the land of Jamestown offers some really good resources, but guess what? It also has some natives. It's got the Algonquin Indian tribe led by a chief named Powhatan. Now, Powhatan, he wanted to trade. He might have wanted to trade some horses. Who knows? Maybe. But the colonists saw land to use. They saw this as land to farm. And guess what the colonists also encountered? It's off a bay. They got some mosquitoes there, and the mosquitoes are going to spread disease between the colonists. A lot of them are going to die because of disease. Now in 1609, all heck breaks loose. The colonists captured Powhatan's daughter. There's a Disney character named after her, Pocahontas, who married the planter John Rolfe. Yes, the movie's wrong. And converts to Christianity. Powhatan was done soon after that, and he makes peace, at least for a little while. If you want to know some more about Pocahontas, there you go. And there you go again. Now, in order to bring more colonists to Jamestown, they want to bring some more people there. This colony's got to survive. They say, well, an easy way to bring people here is to give away some free land. And not only were they giving away free land, but they started to make that paper in 1616. They started growing the stuff for smokes, tobacco. So they offered 50 free acres. It's amazing how people will come for that, which also leads to the plantation system. And we all know there's some bad stuff associated with the plantation system. They also began to transition to self-government. Yes, these colonists were governing themselves. They found the House of Burgesses. It's the first real representative body in the U.S., in the colonies. And so the House of Burgesses, the first real representative body in the colonies. And if you want to know more about the House of Burgesses, there you go. Now, as the colony expands, they continue to fight wars with the natives in 1632 and 1644. So wars in 32 and 44. The colonists strike back, but disease leads to a lot of the natives' deaths. So disease kills a lot of these Native Americans. Now, in 1675, yes, this is a little bit of a jump, but it's in the standards, so we got to cover it. War breaks out again. And a settler named Nathaniel Bacon goes to the governor and he says, I need some stuff to fight these natives. The governor, the royal governor, the person for the king, says, yeah, no. So guess what the colonists did? They rebel against that royal governor, and they push his hindquarters out. But eventually he comes back to power, but eventually the English king is going to remove him because that guy has no say anymore. He was pushed out by the colonists, and the English king needs somebody who's going to carry out his orders. And it shows colonists would rebel against English leaders. And here's some more about Nathaniel Bacon. And yet more. Now next we're going to start covering New England. And this is We Hate the King and His Bloody Church Alley. And this is all about the Puritans. All right, so the colonists known as the Puritans came to New England in order to set up their version of the Anglican Church. So the Puritans, why they show up in New England, is they wanted their own version of the Anglican Church. They didn't like the King's version. And so if you want to know some more about some Puritans, there you go. Oh wait, I got more. There's some more. Now, Puritans in England, they thought that the Anglican Church was too close to the Catholic Church. So that's one of the reasons they end up coming to the colonies later, is to set up their own purified version. They thought the Anglican Church was too close to the Catholic Church, so they wanted their own version. Remember that the Anglican Church and the Catholic Church, one of the really only differences is who's the head. The King's the head in the Anglican Church, the Pope's the head in the Catholic Church. Now, this Puritan challenge in England before the Puritans come to the colonies is seen as treason by the king. He's the head of the church. They're going against him. That's seen as treason. So the king starts laying the smack down on them. He starts persecuting them in the 1620s. So guess what? That gives the Puritans another reason to leave. So one of the reasons the Puritans left is because the king starts persecuting them in the 1620s. Now, in the 1620, the first Puritans land at Plymouth. Yes, these are the Pilgrims you've all studied for a long, long time. And they wanted to party. They went there to party with some natives. Well, they didn't go there to party, but they end up partying with some natives. And they go aboard, of course, they go aboard the ship, the Mayflower. Now, one of the things that you didn't get a lot of in elementary school is the fact that they really start self-government. They self-govern. They have a compact called the Mayflower Compact that sets up their self-government. And if you want to know some more about some Pilgrims, there you go. Now, in 1630, John Winthrop said, "Let there be light," and he forms the Massachusetts Bay Colony. Massachusetts Bay Colony later becomes Boston. Now, one of the things about Massachusetts Bay is it sets up a two-house legislature, and it's the place that expands the Puritan settlements up and down the East Coast. So, John Winthrop, Massachusetts Bay, two-house legislature. Massachusetts Bay later becomes Boston. And if you want to know some more about some John Winthrop, there you go. Now, the Puritans, they came to New England to set up their ideal society. So do you think they're going to be really tolerant of other people? No. This includes executing anyone of a different Christian sect, anyone who was not a Puritan. And this is where the Salem witch trials come in. Many go out a little crispy in the Salem witch trials. Yes, they were burned at the stake. So the Puritans, they did not tolerate other people. They killed them, pretty much, and including the Salem witch trials, where they like to light people on fire. And here's a video to give you some more. Now, in 1631, Roger Williams comes to the Massachusetts Bay Colony. After coming in conflict with them over the closeness of the Anglican Church, he was banished from them. And so then he goes to Plymouth, and he comes in conflict with them over his opposition to the King's Charter. So nobody really liked Roger Williams. So guess what Roger Williams did? He said, "I'm going to leave, and I'm going to go set up my own colony." This is where Rhode Island comes in. So because Roger Williams, nobody really liked the guy, he goes and sets up Rhode Island. Dude could just not hang with anybody. And if you want to know more about some Roger Williams, there you go. Now, the Puritans saw the natives as savages, and they were just like the people of Jamestown. They saw the native land and said, we want that land to do some cropping. So the Puritans, they saw the natives as savages, and they wanted the native land to do some cropping. So by the 1630s, the Pequot and the Puritans, they go to war over some dead beavers. They go to war over the fur trade. And the Puritans virtually eliminated all of the Pequot. So the Puritans and the Pequot, they go to war over the fur trade. And the Puritans virtually eliminated all the Pequot. So after the war between the Puritans and the Pequot, the Puritans say, "Hey, to the leftover natives, you want to move into praying towns, and we're going to convert you to Christianity." So they move the natives into praying towns, the Pequot into praying towns, in order to convert them. But guess what they were also doing? They were taking their land at the same time. So the Puritans moved the Pequot into praying towns, but they're taking their land. Now, as the first generation of Puritans died off, it became harder to convince people to take the full plunge into the church. So in order to maintain the church's influence, the church allowed people to just get baptized and agree to the creed, rather than going through the full experience. This became known as the halfway covenant. So the halfway covenant, real basically, is a halfway of getting into the Puritan church. And if you want to know more about the halfway covenant, there you go. Now, the halfway covenant ends the big timeness of the Puritan church and society, and it may have sown the seeds for the first great awakening in the colonies. So the halfway covenant, it ends that big timeness of the church, and it may have sown the seeds for the first great awakening. Now, in 1675, a massive Native American rebellion breaks out, and it's known as King Philip's War. The natives were at first successful, but guess what? They quickly run out of ammo. So after the natives were defeated, many of them fled to places in the north. Many of them fled to places like Canada. So in 1675, a massive Indian rebellion broke out known as King Philip's War, and it caused many of the Native Americans to flee. And if you want to know more about King Philip's War, there you go. Now on to the Spanish, the I kill you people, or you could be a slave. This is about Spanish explorers in North America. So encouraged by their eating of all the resources of Mexico, the Spanish explorers say, well, we're going to push into North America. So encouraged by their vast eating of the resources in Mexico, Spanish explorers push into North America. So in 1539, Hernando, I kill you, de Soto pushes into the southeast U.S. from Florida. And guess what? He kills some natives in some wars. So in 39, Hernando, I kill you, de Soto, kills some Indians in the southeast of the United States, of the future United States. And here's some more about Hernando, I kill you, de Soto. Now in 1540, Francisco I. Vasquez Gil D. U. Coronado, you see what I did there? Pushes into the Rio Grande Valley from Mexico. Now Coronado, guess what he did? Killed some natives and wanted some stuff as he looked for this mythical kingdom of riches he heard about. So Coronado killed some natives and he wanted some stuff from the natives as he looked for this mythical kingdom of riches that didn't really exist. And here's some more about Coronado. Now after Coronado, Spain said, no to North America until the 1560s. Because they wanted to use North America to defend it against pirates, but not really the peg-leg type. There were pirates, there were people, especially British people, that were taking stuff from Spanish ships. So Spain gives up for a while, but then they wanted it to defend against pirates. Now on to the French, and this is do we really have to talk about them, people? So this is about French explorers. And the answer to that question is unfortunately yes. Now, Veranzo and Cartier are French explorers that sail for the New World looking for a northwest passage and leave it to the French to look for something that isn't really there. And they end up landing at the mouth of the St. Lawrence River, and they claim it for the French king. And they build a fort there, and they establish Quebec. So Veranzo and Cartier, they claim the St. Lawrence River for the French king, and they establish Quebec. And if you want to know some more, there you go. Now the French, as they're in the north, they don't really have a lot of conflicts with the natives because they don't want to go really far into Canada and get the fur that they need. So they don't have a lot of conflicts with the natives because the natives are bringing them fur to trade. Now in 1682, this pretty boy over here, Robert de La Salle, sails down the Mississippi River looking for a northwest passage. He ends up claiming the Mississippi River Basin for France, and this is what establishes the Big Easy. So Robert de La Salle went down the Mississippi and established the Big Easy. That'd be New Orleans, guys. And there's some more about Robert de La Salle. Now on to New York, the land that gets brand new. This is the discovery of New York. Now, by 1614, the Dutch had formed a new settlement at Fort Nassau, and guess what they called it? They called it New Netherlands. Yeah, they were real creative. And they built New Amsterdam at the tip of Manhattan Island and the Hudson River. New Amsterdam is what becomes New York City. By 1664, and here's a little bit about New Amsterdam, but by 1664, the British said, "Give me that," and they renamed it New York. That's why it's called New York. It is the New York. There's a York in England. And on to Pennsylvania, the land of money owed, and William Penn. Now, Pennsylvania was given to William Penn as a proprietary colony, meaning that he had control. Charles II, the king, owed him some money. So William Penn got Pennsylvania because he had some money owed. Now, the thing about Pennsylvania is the colony is going to soon prosper because it's got great rivers, it's got great soil, and a great climate. People are farming back then. Things with great soil, rivers, and climate, they're going to do really well. And so William Penn got a really good deal here. And if you want to read some more about William Penn, there you go.